Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the third annual White Cane Safety Day presentation, or White Cane Day presentation. It's a true honor to have everyone here this evening. I'd like to start out with a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, my name is Brandon Heinrich. I'm one of the co-coordinators of the Downstate New York Adapt Accessibility Working Group and Transportation Equity Working Group. I also do a number of other things, IT work slash wrangler slash whatever else you want to call it. Visual description: I'm a white male, black hair, blue eyes, sitting at my desk with a coffee cup next to me and um, a bunch of other things in the background. But I want to thank everyone for being here again. Just a couple of housekeeping rules. We have everyone muted during the beginning of the presentation or during the actual presentation itself. So we're going to ask that everyone please remain muted for the duration of the presentation until we get to open-ended discussion. I will ask everyone to please raise their hands to speak. To raise your hand for JAWS users, it's Alt-Y. For and lowering it is also Alt-Y. For Mac users, the command is Option-Y. A command Option-Y thing, no, Option-Y. Sorry, and then to lower it is also Option-Y. On the phone, it's *9 to raise and lower, and to mute is *6, and to unmute is *6. For visual, you just click the raise hand, and you'll be able to raise your hand.
Marcia Estevez.
And for those of you who, again, are joining us on the phone, we want to thank you for joining us. We're going to start a little bit differently this year because the person who is going to give us the history of the white cane has not yet joined us. I'd like to start with the actual experiences people have while using a white cane. For those of you who realize the white cane is what helps blind people navigate. It's effective. It's, other people prefer their dogs. I am a cane user. I've been a cane user my whole life of walking around. And eventually I will transition, but I will turn it over first to Marilyn, actually, I'll turn it over to Chris first to talk about his experiences as a white cane user. And then we're going to go into Marilyn, who went from a cane to a dog. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris first.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to be back with all of you once again. My name is Chris Murphy. I am from Southern Minnesota Adapt. I also do assist Downstate New York Adapt with many different things. I'm also one of the co-coordinators of the Accessibility Working Group. Just a bit of a visual description. I am a totally blind Native American, half Native American male. Actually, I'm sitting in my living room this time in front of my laptop, which is not where I typically do these things, but a little bit of a different change in venue than normal, and I'm wearing a headset. So I have been a white cane user all of my life, and it has helped me quite a great deal, especially where I live now in Minnesota, of course, because I unfortunately have to navigate through a lot of snow in the wintertime. And unfortunately, if it weren't for that, I would have a great deal of difficulty actually getting around. One of the things that I actually acquired recently, completely by mistake, over the last year or so, was an all-terrain cane. And that is a cane that is commonly used if you're taking it to the beach or if you're hiking or something like that. But my family member who bought the cane for me ended up getting the wrong one, and I didn't have to hurt to tell them this is not exactly what I was looking for, because as many of you may or may not know, there are different types of tips that go on the cane, and this one, because it's an all-terrain cane, has a longer tip on it. It's a very long tip, and I've been told that it looks rather interesting when people see it for the first time. So I really have to explain to them that, yeah, this is an all-terrain cane, but it can be used in the same way. And actually, believe it or not, it actually helps a lot more in the snow, believe it, than the regular one, because we get lots of snow in Minnesota. and it is very, very effective at actually doing what it needs to do. I'm going to go off camera for about a second so I can get the cane for you, so I can show you what it looks like, and I will actually give you a bit of a description of it for you here in 1 second.
So while Chris is getting his cane, is anybody interested in speaking about? Well, actually, while Chris is getting the cane, I'll let Marilyn share her experiences.
So I have the cane here, and I'm going to actually fold it up. I don't know if you'll be able to see this very well on camera, but this is kind of what the tip looks like. It's very long, and people kind of misconstrued this as, what are you doing with this thing? Because it may, in many ways, be interpreted as like or someone's called this like a lightsaber or a laser or something like that. But no, in actuality, it is a cane. The tip is much, much different. This is actually the first time I've actually seen one. It is actually now completely folded with the elastic, and there's little, I don't know what these things are. They're little metal, little screw type things that really don't do much. Actually, they move, but I'm not exactly sure what they actually do. But they're on the tip side of it, and it has actually gotten very worn down because I've been using it for basically a year. So this is what the all-terrain cane looks like. You can use it as an everyday cane, just like any other cane, or if you want to go to the beach or you want to go do something different outside, this is probably a cane to do that with. But this has actually become my daily driver cane. But it's something that I've had to get a little bit used to because, as you can see, I took it away from the camera. The tip is so different that the first time I used it, I wasn't sure exactly how to use it because the tip is not either a round one or a marshmallow tip. So that's what really threw me off. And I opened up the box, I'm like, what is this? So after figuring it out and playing with it a little while, I said, well, I like this because, as I said before, we get a lot of snow here in Minnesota. And believe it or not, like I said earlier, that does help a great deal. But just to kind of make a bit of a long story short, as I said earlier, I have been a cane user all of my life, and it has definitely helped me a great deal. I think one of the most terrifying experiences, though, is going through a metal detector in an airport, and they make you put it in the bin. But as of recently, though, they've actually been giving it back to me and saying you can keep it with you. So it makes me feel a little more comfortable because, when you're in an airport or something like that, without the cane, you kind of feel a little bit lost. But if anyone has any questions for any of us, of course, hold them off till we get to that particular section. But I want to pass it off now to Marilyn to talk about her experiences.
Thank you, Chris. My name is Marilyn Tusi. I am blind and I am a guide dog user. But before I became a guide dog user, I was a cane user for many, many years. I still do keep up my cane skills. And once a month, I do take my cane out and I will walk a few blocks with it just to keep my cane skills sharp. But I prefer a dog over a cane any day. I've been using guide dogs now for 35 years as of this past September. And I hope to continue as long as I can walk, because I am a senior citizen. So as long as I can walk, I really hope that I can continue using a guide dog. I felt getting a dog really enhanced my mobility. I had good cane skills, but with a dog, I find myself to be more confident. I walk faster. I don't have to worry about going into obstacles like I did with the cane. The dog will either stop at an obstacle or guide me around an obstacle. And even crossing streets, the dog is better than the cane for me. I'm going to share a little experience that happened last summer. Every day I walk the dog a couple of miles, and I was on my walk and I was a few blocks from my house. It was early on either Saturday or Sunday morning, And I didn't think, most people are asleep when I walk at the crack of dawn. So the dog and I are walking. I wasn't crossing a street. What I was going to do was turn on this corner. There was a house there with some hedges, and the dog and I were going to make a left turn. Well, all of a sudden, there was a car coming, but I wasn't aware of it. And the car was speeding, and the dog reacted quicker than I could ever react. If I had a cane, I wouldn't be here now. The dog pulled me, and I wound up going into some of the hedges on this property, and the car actually went on the person's property, went through a stop sign, and just continued going, never even stopped to say, are you okay? Or, I'm sorry, I'm nothing, just continued speeding down the road. And I was really shaken up by it, but it solidified my bond with the dog, because I thought to myself, wow, that happened so fast. I had no clue why she even pulled me to the left the way she did. But if she didn't, like I said, I know with a cane, definitely I would not be here. But, the driver took off. So the next day I had showed a friend of mine what happened, and she saw the tire tracks on the property of these people. So this car actually went off the street onto their property to make this turn without stopping. And I had asked a few of the people that in the surrounding area there, if any of them had any cameras or caught it on the ring, because I really wanted to report this person. And, I just never expected something like that early in the morning. So for me, the guide dog is my best mobility tool. I've gone all different places with my dogs. Some people say, well, I don't want a dog, I don't want to take care of it. I raised 4 children. Taking care of the dog is nothing. It's so much easier. So I just like having the dog. It's good companionship also. But the best part is, as I've said, it enhanced my mobility. I have more confidence traveling with the dog. I can go on planes. I can go on buses, trains, ferries. My dogs have been on everything. All of them have been exposed to everything. This is, right now I have my 5th guide dog, Hedwig. She's a small black lab, but she's powerful. She's a good worker. She is the smallest dog I've ever had. She was like 55 pounds. All my other dogs have been a lot bigger, and I have no preference to the breed. Like people say, oh, is a female better than a male or male? And I basically think they're the same. It's just personalities. But I always tell people, I always ask for a girl because I had 4 sons. So that's what I prefer. But that's my reasoning. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask me?
How do I stop abusing your dog?
By keeping away from you with your cane.
Good answer.
That is a good answer.
Anybody have any questions for Marilyn?
This is Kathy Cranston.
Hello,
And
Kathy.
hi.
Hi, Kathy.
Hey, Marilyn, how long does a guide dog, as far as how long are they a working dog until they're retired, or does it just depend on the dog itself? Is there a certain age?
It depends on the dog. Some dogs become ill where you have to retire them. They're sick. Some dogs just shut down and don't want to work anymore. Some dogs want to work until just before they pass away. It's just every dog is different. My last dog, Anna, before Hedwig, she worked until almost 11 years old. And I thought, that I was going to keep her working because she was in good shape. But all of a sudden she developed cancer. But I had already put my paperwork in for another dog. My school calls me once the dog turns 10. They'll give you a call and they'll say, you think of retiring the dog. At that time, I wasn't even thinking about it, but they put the thought in my mind. So I got all my paperwork in. The dog turned 10 in May, put my paperwork in, and I thought I had another year with her. And all of a sudden, in October, all my paperwork is into the school. In November, I get an invitation to come to the December class. And I was kind of like shocked, and this dog still wanted to work. So I had to make a quick decision. And the trainer said to me, it's up to you. We have a match for you now. If you want to pass it up, we don't know how long you'll have to wait. You could wait 6 months, you could wait another year. So it was my choice. And I said, you know what, if you got a match, I'll be in the class. Of course, when I got off the phone, I started to cry, hugging my Anna, thinking, oh my God, it's time to retire her already. So I did the best thing, because what happened was, and sometimes we don't know what's going to happen to our dogs, but she got cancer and she wound up passing away at 12 and a half. But I was very fortunate, because she was so well behaved and so well loved by so many, that when I got my present guide dog Hedwig, I used to call up places and ask, can I bring my retired guide dog in with my new guide dog? So there were restaurants that I frequent, there were stores that I frequent, and everybody said yes to me. My dog, because it was retired, no longer had the rights that a working guide dog has. So people could say, no, you can't bring the dog in. But I was very fortunate that everybody who knew this dog said, yes, bring her in. So I was very happy about that. I also brought her to work with me a few times. And everybody was like, oh my God, Anna's here. And, my working dog Hedwig is there. Anna would just follow me. She tried to get alongside of me on the left, but I tried to veer her to my right all the time, because she was always used to guiding me on the left. Most guide dogs, walk with you on the left side. And it was just, a good experience. That wasn't the first time I kept a retired guide dog, but she still wanted to work, at 12 and a half. And even after she got sick, I brought her to work in December so my coworkers could meet her, and she passed away in January. That was 2019. She passed away in 2020. But there was a dog who really wanted to continue working. So I did retire her, wanting her to have a relaxing life, because she did work a lot. All my dogs do work a lot. They very seldom sit around. So it's a good experience for the dog, like I said, but I was very fortunate that I was able to bring my retired dog and my working dog certain places with me.
Thank you, Marilyn.
You're welcome.
And you can share about the room that is now dedicated at our agency in her honor.
Oh, yes. At my agency, which is an independent living center, our big community room was named after my last guide dog, Anna. And Anna was very well loved by so many people, including politicians. Everywhere I went with her, she was just that type of dog that had a great personality, a great face. She would make faces at you, a very smart dog. They're all smart in their own ways, but they're all different. Hedwig is a great dog. She's a very quiet dog. She'll come over to you and maybe want to be petted, but she'll go lay down in 2 minutes, bring her toy, and it's like, okay, you want to pet me now, you come to me. Where Anna was a little different than all my other dogs. They're all individuals. But the room was named after her, and we got a lot of politicians came, a lot of my friends came who were puppy raisers. And it was really nice. My coworkers were there, and it was just a nice dedication. I forget what the plaque said. Brandon, do you know what the plaque said?
I think it said something about we dedicate this room to Anna's room, to
Join the
Anna,
meeting.
Marilyn Tucci's former guide dog, something like that. I forget what it said exactly, though.
And there's a beautiful picture.
Join the
of
meeting.
dog, on this plaque that, is hanging in this room. And then my boss was very thrilled because we got many proclamations, which I didn't realize, that they were all handing out proclamations, for Silo. And I just thought it was really such a nice thing to do to honor this dog.
Yes. And unfortunately, I did not get to meet her. Very, very sad. Does anybody have any other questions? I see Andrea's hand is up.
Hi, Marilyn.
Hello?
I have a question. You mentioned that you routinely use your cane and go a few blocks in your neighborhood. Do you take Hedwig with you, or
No.
Not at all? Okay,
No.
I've heard of guide dog users that do that occasionally.
Yeah.
Do both. Sometimes go just on their own with just their cane, and others that take their cane and heel the dog.
Mhm. We are told to carry our canes. I just prefer not to. I keep a cane at work, and I have 2 or 3 canes at home. So if something ever happened to the dog, I have a cane at work, I have canes at home. But I prefer just to keep up my skills without the dog, because I have a habit when I'm out, I will just have the dog guide me instead of using the cane. So much easier. So I want to keep up my skills, and I just leave her home for a short time, and I go out on my own just to walk around with the cane.
Okay, thank you. May I ask also, did you do this with all of your dogs since she's your 5th?
Well, I didn't, and I'll explain to you why. When my husband passed away, I had a retired guide dog, which was my dog Litz. I was waiting for my next dog, but I had to have emergency surgery. So the dog was put on hold, and I didn't get her for a few months after my surgery. So I had absolutely no cane, because for so many years I was using dogs. I just didn't even remember what I did with the cane. So I was really at a disadvantage not being able to go out. I had to rely on people. I had to take their arm to go places. And I'm a very independent person, and that took away a lot of my independence, having, to wait to get a dog. And then I realized that I did an injustice to myself by not keeping a cane handy, because I never thought that, I would be without a dog. I always thought, you got one dog, you retire him, right away you get another dog. But it didn't happen that way. I decided after that, I called up, had my case open. I got mobility lessons. They gave me another cane, and then I bought 2 more canes. And it just made me realize that it's very important, even if you have a guide dog, keep up your cane skills, because something can happen to the dog and you never know when you're going to need that cane.
Oh, that's great advice. Thank you so much, because I'm on my 2nd dog, and I don't routinely go out with my cane, nor do I heel my dog and use a cane. So that's, great advice. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Miriam, your hand is raised.
Sorry, I put it up by accident. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Mark?
There it goes. Hello, everyone. Happy to be here. You guys are talking about canes, and I'm just curious, because I use a walker inside my house and all, and I'm an expert on walkers. How much does the basic cane cost, and how much does the all-terrain cane cost? Thank you.
I don't exactly remember what the all-terrain cane was because I didn't purchase it, but I think it was a little more expensive if I remember correctly. But I believe it was more expensive if I think it was like 40-ish, $45, maybe close to 50. I can't remember. And then I know the basic canes are much cheaper. I think I saw
30,
one
if I'm not
for about
mistaken.
$30. But of course, if you need a bigger one, because they go by size, then you start to get a little bit more expensive. But they're not like, pocket killers, if you will, but they are, they're fairly cheap. Of course, if you have a case open with services for the blind, of course, you'll get those. But there are, times like me, for example, just a bit of a story. I got my cane stuck under a trash can outside, and it got stuck under there, and the whole tip got sucked into it. This was before I had the all-terrain cane. And it was taped back up with electrical tape, but that meant it wouldn't fold anymore, as you saw when I was demonstrating what I showed you what the all-terrain cane looked like. So I needed a different cane and ended up having to order one. Got a spare temporarily through State Services for the Blind that they graciously let me use for a bit, thankfully, because it's really hard when you can't fold the cane up. They do make canes that don't fold, by the way. They're called straight canes, and of course you have the folding ones as well that you can fold up and put somewhere. The straight canes, though, are extremely cumbersome because you have to find a place for them, or lay it down somewhere, which is never a good idea because it'll risk breaking it, or put it somewhere in a corner or something like that. The folding ones, of course, you can just fold it up and put it somewhere. But like I said, they do make straight canes too, which, believe it or not, was one of the first canes I had, and I couldn't stand it. Then I got a folding cane. So there's kind of just a brief difference of different types of canes that are out there too.
And that's why, just before we go on to the next person, why it's important to make sure you carry an extra cane. I had this happen to me when I was at Suffolk Community College. I had a person decide to do acrobatics over my cane. Yes, the person decided to do acrobatics over my cane, to the point that the person tripped over my cane and broke the cane. Now, mind you, I did not have an extra cane. So when I did not have an extra cane, guess what happened? I had no cane. So I had to get on the bus. I had to call my mobility instructor, first of all. I had to say, I have one end in my hand and the other one is on the ground. What am I supposed to do? So I got on the bus as best I could. The cane was still usable, but it was dangly, so you couldn't really call it usable. Got on the bus, had to wait till the next day till he could come out with another cane. Rule number 1, always carry an extra cane. When I went to Washington, D.C. just a couple of weeks ago, I had an extra cane in my bag. Did I need to use it? No. Did I remember to put it in there? Yes, I did. I can't say I remembered a lot of other things while I was down there, but I remembered my extra cane. So it was in the bag in case I absolutely needed it. Thankfully, it stayed there. There's always a chance something could happen. You get your cane stuck in the sidewalk. You get it run over by something or someone, or anything can happen. The thing could break. Anything can happen. We have Mike Cush has his hand up. And Mike, we're not hearing you, just in case you...
Hello?
Yes, we hear you now.
Oh, sorry about that. Marilyn, I had a quick question. Are all your dogs from the same dog school?
Yes, all my dogs are from the Guide Dog Foundation in Smithtown.
Okay, thank you. Nice to see you, Brenda.
Nice to see you too, minus the seeing, Mike. We go back a long, long time. Anybody else have their hands raised? Let's see. Mary, I knew you would. And then we're going to go into the history because I do have the history up.
What was I gonna say? Oh, or you can drop your cane into the ocean like I did.
Oh, do tell, Mary. Do please tell.
It was one of like the Devon has those fishing trips. Well, there's no lip on the bottom of on the deck of the boat. So I didn't know. I put my cane down. The boat moved, and my cane just went right into the ocean. Splat. And then I took, and when I went fishing, I caught a fish in the eye, and I told it could use my cane if it went back there. I left my cane for it.
Oh goodness.
Yeah. When Chris mentioned the all-terrain cane, I thought he meant the official one, because I bought one that somebody made, and it has the ability. It's strong enough to be used as a regular, like you can lean on it like a cane. And it's brand new. They, like he said, they use it like for mountain climbing and such, but it's made out of titanium, so it's lightweight. And the tip is a marshmallow. Well, you can get different ones. They do have where you can get different ones, but I know the one is a regular marshmallow tip, but it's in colors too. Mine's gonna be red.
This one has like a long, I don't know exactly what the tip is made out of on this one, but it's definitely different. And every time people see it, they're like, "What in the heck is that?" You know, anyone that can see, of course, or anyone that's felt that particular cane is like, "Are you?" The thing looks like a laser
Sounds
pointer
like
or something.
Well, it sounds like it's a spear type thing.
It's actually long. It's about maybe a
like
few
you point
inches
to
long.
the ground.
Yeah. So, but I do like it a lot better though than the other types of tips, because like I said, it helps a little bit in the snow out here too.
I remember when I would walk around in the snow, and they tell you, yeah, you just kind of poke along inside the snow because you're not going to see it, and you can't swipe at it, so you just kind of poke around in it.
Yep, that's what you do.
Snow. And I'm like, okay, that's scary. Yeah, it's scary. I try not to go out in the snow. I'm still on the bus because they forgot me.
What?
Oh my
Able
God.
Ride forgot me.
Are
They
you
forgot to set up a bus. They forgot to set up a bus for me. I get a free ride though. So I was supposed to. Forgot I gave him my ticket. But they were supposed to give me a free ride. He goes, "I'm so sorry." He says, "I'm so sorry. You fell through the cracks, and we forgot to schedule a bus for you."
terrible?
How do you
God.
forget to schedule? Okay, that's it. That's it, Mary.
What else you gonna do? I mean, I could get mad tomorrow, but it's not gonna help me now. So,
True.
God, it was funny. It's been a long day. I was, as I said, told in the thing, I left the house at 4:45, and I'm not home yet.
Wow.
Goodness gracious, Mary, you're gonna sleep really good tonight.
Exactly.
Sorry.
I hope so, because I didn't sleep last night. So.
Oh,
I hope
okay. Well, if we try and call you tomorrow and you're groggy at 3:30 in the afternoon, we'll know why. All right. Well,
Anyway,
thank you
I'm
for
taking up
sharing,
your
Mary.
time. Okay,
All right, we're
bye.
going to go into the history because that's actually why you're all here, White Cane Day, you know, that thing, because we don't want to sound like we are negative towards the cane. And then I'm going to show you what was the bane of my existence, but I'm starting to get used to it, and that is called the We Walk Smart Cane. I'll demonstrate in a moment, and no, that is not my extra cane. Let me... Oh, wait 1 second.
Desktop ZP. The history of the White Cane.
Can everybody hear Jaws?
Screen. You have 20 Facebook Live
Yes.
pages.
Okay.
Closing tab. The history of the White Cane.
All right, let
The
me
history.
go to it, and then I will slow this down.
Slower. The history.
Because I guarantee you nobody's going to understand
Slower.
that
The history.
fast.
Size and move on maximize unavailable.
All right, it's
Link home the history of the white cane.
Of course, it's not going to
Slower. Heading level 3. The history.
Okay.
Slow. The following short history of the white cane was written by Philip Strong. Phil was an advocate at the ACB Office for Pedestrian Safety. The white cane is not just a tool that can be used to achieve independence. It is also a symbol of the blind citizens in our society. To honor the many achievements of blind and visually impaired Americans and to recognize the white cane's significance in advancing independence, we observe October 15th of each year as White Cane Safety Day. Today the white cane works both as a tool for the blind as well as a symbol, but this has not always been the case. Throughout history, the cane, staff, and stick have existed as traveling aids for the blind and visually impaired, dating back to biblical times. Records show that a shepherd's staff was used as a tool for solitary travel. The blind used such tools to alert them to obstacles in their path. For centuries, the cane was used merely as a tool for travel, and it was not until the 20th century that the cane, as we know it today, was promoted for use by the blind as a symbol to alert others to the fact that an individual was blind. This new role for the white cane had its origins in the decades between the two world wars, beginning in Europe and then spreading to North America. James Biggs of Bristol claimed to have invented the white cane in 1921. After an accident claimed his sight, the artist had to readjust to his environment. Feeling threatened by increased motor vehicle traffic around his home, Biggs decided to paint his walking stick white to make himself more visible to motorists. It was not until 10 years later that the white cane established its presence in society. In February 1931, Gilly d'Urbermont launched a scheme for a national white stick movement for blind people in France. The campaign was reported in British newspapers, leading to a similar scheme being sponsored by Rotary clubs throughout the United Kingdom. In May 1931, the BBC suggested in its radio broadcasts that blind individuals might be provided with a white stick, which would become universally recognized as a symbol indicating that somebody was blind or visually impaired. In North America, the introduction of the white cane has been attributed to the Lions Clubs International. In 1930, a Lions Club member watched as a blind man attempted to make his way across a busy street using a black cane. With the realization that the black cane was barely visible to motorists, the Lions Club decided to paint the cane white to increase its visibility to oncoming motorists. In 1931, the Lions Club International began a national program promoting the use of white canes for persons who are blind. Throughout the 1920s and 1930s, blind persons had walked with their canes held diagonally in a fixed position, and the role of the white cane took on a symbolic role as an identifier. But when the blind veterans of World War II returned to America, the form and the use of the white cane was further altered in an attempt to help return veterans to participatory lifestyles at home. Dr. Richard Hoover developed the long cane or Hoover method of cane travel. These white canes are designed to be used as mobility devices and return the cane to its original role as a tool for mobility, but maintained the symbolic role as an identifier of blind independence. During this period, the white cane began to make its way into government policy as a symbol for the blind. Martha Villa put in waiting room. The first special white cane ordinance was passed in December 1930 in Peoria, Illinois. It granted blind pedestrians protections and the right of way while Martha Villa put in waiting room carrying a white cane. In 1935, Michigan began promoting the white cane as a visible symbol for the blind. On February 25, 1936, an ordinance was passed. Martha Villa has entered the waiting room for this meeting. Press F6 to view pop-up the carrying a white cane. In 1935, Michigan began promoting the white cane as a visible symbol for the blind. On February 25, 1936, an ordinance was passed by the city of Detroit recognizing the white cane. To promote the new ordinance, a demonstration was held at City Hall where the blind and visually impaired people were presented with white canes. The following year, Donald Schuer wrote the provision of a bill and had it proposed in the Michigan State Legislature. Sheila Murray put in waiting room. The proposal gave the carrier of the white cane protection while traveling on the streets of Michigan. Governor Frank Murphy signed the bill into law in March 1937. Sheila Murray has joined the meeting during the early 1960s. Several state organizations and rehabilitation agencies serving the blind and visually impaired citizens of the United States urged Congress to proclaim October 15th of each year to be White Cane Safety Day in all 50 states. This event marked a climatic moment in the long campaign of the organized blind movement to gain state as well as national recognition for the white cane. On October 6, 1964, a joint resolution of the Congress, Sheila Murray has left the meeting. H.R. 753 was signed into law authorizing the President of the United States of America to proclaim October 15th of each year as White Cane Safety Day. The resolution read, resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives that the President is hereby authorized to issue annually a proclamation designating October 15th as White Cane Safety Day and calling upon the people of the United States of America to observe such a day with appropriate ceremonies and activities. Within hours of passage of the congressional resolution, President Lyndon B. Johnson went down in history as the first to proclaim October. Sheila Murray has joined the meeting 15th as White Cane Safety Day. The presidential proclamation emphasized the significance of the use of the white cane as both a tool and as a visible symbol. In the first White Cane proclamation, President Johnson commended blind people for the growing spirit of independence and the increased determination to be self-reliant and dignified. He said in part, a white cane in our society has become one of the symbols of a blind person's ability to come and go on his own. Its use has promoted courtesy and opportunity for mobility of the blind on our streets and highways. During most years since 1964, the President has proclaimed October 15th as White Cane Safety Day. On October 15th, 2000, President Bill Clinton again reminded us of the history of the white cane as a tool, and its purpose as a symbol of blindness. With proper training, people using the white cane can enjoy greater mobility and safety by determining the location of curbs, steps, uneven pavement, and other physical obstacles in their path. The white cane has given them the freedom to travel independently to their schools and workplaces and to participate more fully in the life of their communities. It reminds us that the only barriers against people with disabilities are discriminatory attitudes and practices that our society has too often placed in their way. As we observe White Cane Safety Day, 2001, let us recall the history of the white cane, its emergence as a tool and a symbol through history, a staff of independence. Let us also recall the events that have permitted us to celebrate October 15th as White Cane Safety Day. Philip Strong. Screen sharing.
Does anybody have any comments on that other than the constant interruptions by Zoom?
I think that's a great full history of the whole of the white cane as a whole, and many of you, of course, may not necessarily know the full history, but you do now because of that being read. And I see Mark's hands up.
Go ahead, Mark.
There we go. Thank you for sharing that, Brandon. There was so much in that article I didn't know. And I appreciate the information because it helps me learn and grow as a person. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing, Mark. Anybody else? Anybody want to share what the white cane does for them, or what thoughts go through your head, I guess you want to say, when you see somebody coming with a white cane? You know, I mean, how does it impact you as somebody who may not be blind? Feel free.
Yeah. What does it mean to you? What does it symbolize to you?
What kind of
if you see someone
independence
for
do
the
you
first
see?
time?
Yeah, what kind of independence do you see somebody like us having that you never maybe thought that we could have? Anybody want to share about their dogs being abused by canes?
I can share.
Oh, I know you can.
Everybody must keep away from Brandon.
Okay.
Really?
That's funny.
Yes, Kathy, at work, I abuse her dog because I keep hitting the dog. She goes, "Watch the dog, watch the dog."
This is Kathy. I wanted to share just my recall as to when I first experienced in-person meeting somebody that was totally blind. And it was when I was, I guess, probably, I want to say 14, and it was at a church that I was attending. And that was the first time I saw a white cane, actually. It was really kind of cool. And at that time, I had already been around individuals with disabilities in institutional settings, but I had not experienced being around somebody that was had a visual impairment or totally blind. So I didn't think I mean, he was just a person, you know. It's kind of interesting because later on, fast forward, because at that time I was living in Clute, Texas, and then later on when I moved to Austin, which was, my goodness, probably 20 years later or so, or maybe not that many, probably like 15 or 10, I ended up reconnecting with him. I happened to be at a grocery store, and sure enough, there he was with his spouse, who also had a visual impairment, and I was able to recognize him, and we were able to talk and visit. So it was kind of cool in that way, you know, just the historical part for me, anyway. So that actually was my first experience being around somebody that was blind, and I think the fact that I had gone into an institution and been around other people that had disabilities. Most of them were older people, but also quite a few of them used wheelchairs, that may have tempered how I responded to him. I don't know, but it's kind of a cool experience. So.
Thank you for sharing, Kathy. And then you met us.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And then you met me in person first, and then him right after that. So
Right.
Did the cane tell you how not to let me spill milk?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I think maybe had you used the cane, maybe you wouldn't have spilled it.
Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Oh God, maybe the cane would have found the open bottle. I don't know.
You need to tell. Okay, some of the people on this call don't know what the heck you're talking about.
Yes. Okay.
So share with them what you're talking about.
Yes.
At least
Okay.
a little
So
bit.
on our trip to DC, I had gotten McDonald's because lunch was on our own one day, and I had gotten a thing of milk, and I didn't realize that the milk was not closed properly. So the next thing I know, somebody said, "You spilled your milk all over the place." It had fallen, I guess it had, what was it? It was in the bag, I think it was.
Yeah. But you had left it on the floor. No, the shake was in the bag, and the milk was outside of the
milk,
bag.
right? The milk was on the ground.
The leg of the chair.
Right, because I'm thinking I got to find a place to put it. Little did I realize the thing wasn't closed all the way. I thought I had left it on the floor. It was safe. Everything was fine. It wasn't going to fall. Sure. Right. The next thing I know, I'm cleaning up a mess. I go, you know what? I just can't go anywhere.
I remember that too.
Yes, I know. You were right there.
Yes, I was in the vicinity of you, so.
Anyway, that's that story. Mike, your hand is raised again.
Yeah, I'll take the first question. So I can tell you about my story, a little bit of detail. So I have a congenital eye condition, and my vision gradually got worse as I got older. I was very resistant to using the cane as a young teenager, or tween entering my teens. Didn't want to stick out, but I was also very tentative in the way I traveled. And then I met this guy. His name was Alex, and he was a cane user, and he was just flying all over the place, whacking things, whacking dogs, whacking trees, whacking people. And I was like, oh, this guy seems a little out there. But then when I got to know him, I was like, he told me how he takes the subway. I was living in New York City, travels independently, and I was like, wow, how? And then he said, I use a cane, get around, finds holes, finds obstacles. And then I asked for assistance if I needed, or people will see the cane and ask me if I need assistance. So that was kind of what swayed me. I was like, yeah, I want that level of independence. I want to be able to travel. I don't want to take a school bus to school for the rest of my life. So that's in short, that's how I was a convert. And then also, my vision was decreasing to the point where it became essential. And so that's my entree into the cane using community.
Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else for first time jitters with a cane or anything like that? How about the almighty, oh God, there's a blind person coming with a cane. What am I supposed to do?
Jump out of the way.
Thank you,
That's
Marilyn.
happened many, many times. Trust
Thank
me.
you, Marilyn.
You're welcome.
That's what our coworkers do. They're like, oh, jump out of the way. He's
Or they
coming.
just stand there like a deer in the headlights. What am I supposed to do?
Even worse, when they stand there like, could you
Mhm.
please, pardon me,
Move? Could you
try to
step
come
aside?
through here?
Exactly.
My favorite. My favorite. Mark and Mary.
I had a girlfriend who had a cane, and I didn't think anything of it because I looked on it as a tool that she used to get around. And I think if more of the public would be around people that were blind or had a disability, we'd be a lot more accepting of each other. The one thing I dislike to this very day is when I go out in public and people stare like I'm from Mars and have 3 heads. But what's worse is you get a young kid who asks a question, and usually it's his mother that says, who's holding him by the hand and says, don't ask him that. And she yanks him by the arm and pulls him away. The fact is, we all have a disability. We just don't know it. Some disabilities are hidden and others are visible. And once we realize that, I know it's a pie in the sky thing, but once we realize that, we're closer to get along and working with each other. And I must say, that's one reason why I go to the National Adapt Actions in DC, is to learn about other people and their disabilities, and to be with them and to understand a little bit of what they may go through. Thank you very much.
Mary.
Hello. The first person I saw using a cane was me. I never actually came across anybody who was blind. In Minnesota, there was no people walking around with a cane. They were probably hiding in their, hiding them away in their homes. I have had people tell me they shouldn't let me out. I said, besides my being crazy, is there any other reason? Where would you like me to be? It's, and then my mother raised me to be, if you need it, you use it. I don't care what it looks like. It could be the ugliest thing in the world, but if it advances who you are positively, then you do it. So I slap myself on the forehead that I didn't at least use a regular walking cane as a cane. Why I didn't even think of that. I was using my foot. I was walking in the dark. You know, I guess how long it would take to get home when you take a step and then whack the curb with your leg. But like I said, I didn't know who to call or what to do. And finally, I called the place up in Albany, and they gave me some guy who was retired. But he at least put me on the right track. But like I said, I had no clue. I didn't see any blind people here in New York either. And I went to a bunch of different schools. A lot of blind people don't like to say they're blind. And I've been visually impaired majority of of my life. Like I said, I probably should have had a cane a whole lot earlier. I will admit that, but it's not like I ran into things. I had enough where, you know, I didn't walk into things. But like I said, they just were not visible enough. We really aren't. Blind people are not visible enough. We just stand out there with signs and jump up and down because we don't see, because you need to see. That's why part of what we do, not just at VIPS, but the other organizations, is we go out and we go like to the movie theater, and the movie theaters got, so now they don't even say anything. They don't, you know, because we walk around like we're no longer blind people in the movie theater, at least at Island 16. We're not something people gawk at because they see us every day. Oh, not every day, but on Tuesday and Thursday and Sunday, there's a blind person in Island 16. And that's what we need more of, is blind people out there. People can see us and we become part of the everyday existence in our community.
Thank you for sharing that, Mary.
Yeah,
Mark
thank
Shaw,
you.
your hand is up.
Yes, I just wanted to say that I wholeheartedly agree with Mark. Like, it irritates the living daylights out of me. When people stare, and it really irritates me when, like, a little kid stares and their mom or whoever they're with, like, ushers them along real quick, like, those they're doing else. Why else? I'm still freaking human.
That's true. We get a lot of that. We get a lot of people that stare. My favorite was one time in school, somebody asked, I guess one of the teachers or maybe a fellow student, why does he need that stick?
Huh.
Or my even worse favorite, I see your eyeball. Okay.
I've never heard like that one
I'd
before.
never heard
That's
that
a
either
first.
until this one kid said it, and I never heard it again. But that goes back to another issue of, you know, when you see somebody with a cane. I had to talk to a teacher once because I got a little bit fed up, which I probably shouldn't have. But I was young. I was in 5th or 6th grade. No, it was 5th grade. And they were younger kids that were, every time I would come into a hallway, they would go, "Here comes the blind kid." And I talked to this teacher, and as young as I was, I had the sense to say, you know, maybe you could teach your children, your students, to say my name instead of, "Here comes the blind kid." And from that day on, every time I walked into the kindergarten hallway, I heard, "Hi, Brandon!" This big chorus of people saying my name, and I was like, wow, that teacher had some common sense. But it's just sad because, you know, disabled people, we're just, you know, we are human. That's what we try to tell people every day, is we are human. No matter what disability you have, we're human. We may do things a little differently than some other disabilities do things. We may need a little more help than other disabilities need as blind people to succeed and to get through our day at times, but, you know, especially when we're in an unfamiliar environment. But we do what we need to do to get through the day regardless, including causing embarrassment for ourselves. That's like, you know, that's like my highlight, apparently. You know, it's just how it goes. Andrea,
Yeah,
and then we're gonna move.
exactly.
Oh, go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
No, exactly. We, with disabilities, we don't do a thing is quote unquote like the average bear, but we still figure it out, we still get it done.
That is true. Andrea, go ahead.
Is it possible to get a copy of the history that was presented?
Absolutely. When you later on, you're going to, probably in the next couple of days, you're going to get an email with a thank you, and it will have the link to the YouTube video of this presentation, as well as I will definitely paste the history of the article of the history that I just presented for you.
Oh,
Thank you very
wonderful.
much.
So you'll
That'll be
definitely have
great.
that, and if there's any other resources I can find, I certainly will put them in there for you to view or to distribute. Definitely distribution is also important. So please feel free to share any information we give, as long as it's not copyrighted by us. Feel free to share it. We don't copyright anything. So please feel free to share absolutely everything. Feel free to share this presentation around. Please feel free to, to do whatever you wish with this presentation. I have one more thing I'd like to really show before we either take more questions or conclude a lot earlier than was planned. I'm going to get it. I borrowed this from work. Some of you who have been to this presentation in the past have heard this discussed, and this is called the WeWalk Smart Cane. It looks like a regular cane, except for the fact that it has electronic gadgets on the top here, and I'll describe what they are. Can everybody see it?
No.
Besides you, Marilyn. Uh-oh, the grandkids are important, Kathy. See you soon. Thank you for coming. All right, well, for
Thank
those
you
who...
all. Appreciate it, Brandon and Chris and everybody. Thanks. Bye, guys.
Thanks, we'll talk soon.
Yes, sir. Bye, hon.
So this is the WeWalk Smart Cane, and it does look like a regular cane, except it comes with a detachable handle that has smart features. The cane can detect obstacles. The cane can do navigation. It can get you to different places. It's like a navigation, and it connects to your smartphone for the ability to do all of that. The navigation, it has a touchpad on it as well. You can use it, but I think you still have to have it connected to your phone in order to use it with the touchpad. I could be wrong. I haven't tried that yet. But when I first took the cane from work, I wasn't too impressed with it. I was told how great it was and how great it was supposed to be, and everybody said, "Don't borrow it. Don't borrow it. You're not going to like it." And I said, let me see. Maybe I can figure something out either you can't figure out, or I might have a different opinion of it. Well, when I took it, the person who told me, who shall remain nameless, would have lived up to her reputation and would have been absolutely right. The cane was pointless to me. But somebody said you have to read the manual. So I did. I spent some time reading the manual, and I discovered I wasn't holding the cane right. You have to hold the cane a certain way. You hold it pretty much like a normal cane, except the only difference is you've got to make sure you're not obstructing the sensors. You've got to make sure that the sensors are open so that it's picking something up, not from the sky, but from where it's supposed to be picking up from, the ground. So, long story short, I took this cane out walking. It did great with navigation, except when it told me to turn in 200 some odd feet. In 200 feet, I would have ran into a bush or something. And I was like, that can't seem right, because I'm ready to turn onto the street that I know I needed to turn onto. So it was a little behind, needless to say. So again, I was a little unimpressed with it, and I was ready to go back to our trade director and say, I'm returning this. I don't think I need this. But then I was told, read the manual. I did. I read the manual, and I took it to work today for the first time, actually, again. And I was very impressed by what it actually was doing. It vibrates when you get to certain obstacles. It doesn't actually audibly tell you, hey, chair at 2 o'clock. That's what I thought it really did. But no, it gives you vibrating cues to show you what obstacles, or that there is an obstacle there. It does require good cane technique for you to be able to get the most out of it. I know Marilyn has tried it. I know a couple of other people who were supposed to be here tonight and were not here tonight. They have tried it, and they were unimpressed. The downside to this cane is you cannot have it out in the rain for a long period, for a long period of time. You could probably have it in drizzle, but you can't have it in pouring rain, because it could short out the cane or could cause water damage, as the manual says. I don't know what they mean by that. It can cause damage to the sensors, so they don't want you to do that. So the downside to that is, well, you kind of have to walk in the rain and the snow, so what's the point? You can't have it out for more than 3 hours because the battery dies. I haven't experienced that just yet. There's a couple of other advantages or disadvantages that I'm seeing with it, and that is if you have very bad hand, issues where you can't feel the vibration, you're probably not getting the full effect of it. So it's not good for everybody. It's not as impressive as I thought it might be, but it's a good start. Now, this cane, mind you, is about 4 or 5 years old. They may have updated it since we got them slightly. I can't say that for sure because I really don't know. I don't know if anybody else has any comments on that or if they've tried this thing, but and would like to, share anything they found unhelpful with it. But it's a very good start. Perhaps it could get a lot better. This was invented by a person in Europe, so maybe it works better over there. I don't know, because they actually do say that it's approved for use in EU countries. It's not, and other countries that follow EU regulations. So it may not work in every country. Again, it connects to your smartphone via Bluetooth, so it has to have, the Bluetooth connection on your phone. Your phone has to be charged, which we kind of figure, right? It's just a self-explanatory thing. But it's a very interesting device at first, glance. It could be a lot better, but with maybe some use. What I also don't like about it is it's very heavy, and it rattles when you're walking. So I have actually told coworkers, here comes rattle pants, because it's very, very rattly. When you walk, it kind of makes this it's not doing it on the carpet, but on the floor it will do it. It makes this very rattly sound, or on the carpet at work it definitely does it. It sounds like, you're moving an object there, and that's not a regular cane. So there's some there's a lot of drawbacks to it, more than there are positives. But I'm slowly getting used to the cane now that I've actually read the manual and seen some things I was doing incorrectly. But the navigation is handy. It's nice to have the thing on your thing. You don't have to hold your phone. You can just hold onto your cane, and it's telling you where to turn, as long as it's telling you, to turn in the right amount of feet. And it doesn't tell you to turn in 200 feet when you're already at the place you're supposed to turn. So, just some little things. And I think, as I said, I think it could get better. And I don't want to mislead anybody by saying it's the world's greatest invention, because it certainly isn't. And I haven't really played with it enough to be able to say anything else that's great or bad about it. Would anybody else like to share anything that has tried this? I know one person who didn't come on here tried it and loved it, and I wanted to say, what planet do you live on? But that was before I really read the manual and got an idea of some of the things, like I said, that perhaps I was doing incorrectly with it. No comments on anything?
No comment.
Okay, no comment. She pleads the fifth.
I just want to make a quick one. I think, the only drawback of that cane is its price.
Well,
they are very,
yes,
very
that's
expensive.
They're
about $500 and something, I think. So, they are not a cheap venture. So if you really, really want this, make sure you make that commitment, because you're gonna be putting aside a lot of money.
Find somebody who's willing
to make it
for you.
Because if you want that cane, that's a lot of money, and like I said, that's unfortunately one of the drawbacks of that particular cane, because of the electronic components and all of that stuff, is its price.
Yeah, and it has an
that's-
embedded battery which you can't replace. You have to have somebody else do that. You know, you have to take it to someplace or mail it someplace to have it done. And there's other little drawbacks. We actually had a mobility instructor come in the other day who said she wasn't. They had it at her agency and they weren't very impressed with it. It's got its good, it's got its bad, and that's really all I want to say on it. Because there's, like I said, there's a lot of things that it could do better. There's a lot of things that it could do less of. You know, there's a lot of there's a lot of drawbacks, like I say, and there's a lot of positives. So, does anybody have any other questions on anything we discussed tonight? And I mean, absolutely anything. I just want to comment on the amount of attendance we have. I was very impressed with how many people have joined us. Some folks have left. We're down to 18, but I just, like I said, I really want to thank everyone for coming tonight. It actually turned out to be a better evening than I thought. So thank you, Mark. Thank you for saying that. He said it was very informative. I want to invite everyone to our next program, which is on November 2nd. It's a Thursday evening, and it's at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, 6 Central, 5 Mountain, 4 Pacific. It is our Traveling with a Disability program. We're going to have some excellent speakers, and this is the third presentation we've done, third annuals here, and we are going to talk about, just as the name says, traveling with a disability, and we're going to talk about different people. People are going to share their experiences traveling with their disability. We're going to have people discussing anything from traveling with a wheelchair to a guide dog, and trust me, that's an experience. And if anybody's ever heard Marilyn share some of her stories traveling with a guide dog, especially the system change she made, it's well worth coming to that presentation. Trust me, because you're going to have everybody's got some good stuff that's going to speak. So we encourage you to come. I just put the link in the chat for everybody. So if you want to pull that link and go ahead and register for it, I sincerely encourage you to do so. It will be, again, as I said, November 2nd. It is a Thursday evening from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. We will be streaming it on Facebook and uploading it to YouTube, as we are with this one. So we encourage everybody to join us. We also encourage everybody to learn a little bit more about what we do at Downstate New York Adapt. So you can go to our website, www.dnyadapt.com. You can fill out our membership forms to become a member if you're just interested in seeing what we do. You can also become a member as part of an organization. If you want to join us as a representative from your organization, feel free to do so. But we encourage individuals joining as well, just to help us with what we do. And what we do is very extensive. We have different groups. We have a transportation equity working group. We have an accessibility working group. We have a Medicaid CDPA working group. Medicaid is a hot issue, as well as every other issue surrounding it. We also have a voter engagement working group for those people who are voters and who should be voters and who should be interested in voting, because voting is an important issue. We have a lot of, and we have a legislative action working group. We have a lot of good groups to offer, so please take advantage of all of them and join us if you can. We'd love to have you join us, but most certainly join us for the Traveling with a Disability event. We will send it out again. Anybody who registered tonight, as I said, is going to get a copy of the recording, which is the YouTube video, and also a copy of the White Cane history that I presented this evening. I will also, for your convenience, put in that email a copy of the link for registering for November 2nd. Want to thank everyone again for coming. It has been a true pleasure to be with all of you this evening, and have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question before we go? Sorry.
Certainly.
That We Walk cane, it's really heavy.
Yes.
So that also impinges like on how great it is, right?
Well, yes, and it's certainly heavier than a regular cane, and it's I think the thing that weighs it down is the handle, because
Right.
the handle has the equipment on it. It has the electronic panel. So it definitely must weigh it down a little bit. And it feels heavier when you're moving it for whatever reason. So that's the only downside about the heaviness part of it all. Otherwise, it's, as I said, it's effective with the exception of that. So I think I could say that, it's a very valuable thing if you're interested in investing in that. And again, the price tag is another
A
big
lot of money. And
yes.
do you plug in, do you charge the cane?
Yes, there's a USB connection right here, and it goes into your computer, and then the other end plugs into the top of the cane. On the top of the cane, there is a little mini USB connection, and you plug that in, and it plugs into the cane. And that is actually also how it receives software updates through your phone. You go into the app, and it's supposed to pop up with a notice that you have a software or a firmware update for the cane. So it's all electronic, which is nice and not nice. But like I said, the little sensors on the top, need to be unobstructed, because they will get, they will get, they will become a problem, and it won't detect what it's supposed to.
And so as
Marcus,
you're walking, it talks to you. It will say, turn here, turn there. That's what
if you set up the navigation and you put an address in, it's like a GPS. If you put in the address where you want to navigate to, or it has an explore feature where you can actually explore places around you and you can navigate to them. So let's say I want to go to the pizza parlor up the road here. I can put in the name of the pizza parlor and press go here, and it will actually take me to that location.
That's fascinating. Great. Well, thank you so much. That's so interesting.
Thank you.
I don't know something, but it's good to know. It's, maybe that'll improve and the price will come down. Who knows?
Who knows? Mark, and then we're going to end.
Thank you. You had said several times it's heavy. How heavy is it? And or how much does it weigh?
It's about, I don't know how heavy, how much it weighs exactly, but you know what it feels like? It feels like a broom when you're holding it for some reason. I want to say it feels like a broom. I might be inaccurate on that description, but it feels like a broom where, it's heavy because it's got the big handle. It's kind of how it feels. So when you're walking, it kind of weighs you down a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, with no further questions, we will end.
Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight.
Have a lovely evening, all.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.